Hi there everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another episode of Should You Pull for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. Now today I'm going to be talking about the new Lost chapter that's coming up very shortly, and it's actually one of my favourite characters in all of Final Fantasy that a lot of people aren't really aware of, and it's Alisaie and her EX weapon alongside the two bannermates that she comes with in Papalymo and Terra. Now, as a Red Mage main in Final Fantasy XIV, if you want to add me on there by the way, then feel free to jump on the Omega server, jump on my Discord or anything like that, drop me a message. I actually have my own free company on there, so if you want to join up on that, then let me know. Then, you know, I'm in a weird place with this banner, because personally, I'm at a really good place with my resources again, but I really want Alisaie. So if you guys want to find out more about Alisaie's kit, because there's a lot to go through with her stuff, as well as whether I think it's a banner worth pulling on, or whether you guys want to put in some tickets, some gems, anything like that, then stay tuned and keep on watching. As always guys, don't forget to check out all of the social media links in the description box below, including Facebook, Twitter, Discord, Patreon, all that good stuff. And do let me know, by the way, because obviously with my Patreon, I've said this before, but I'd love some ideas for my Opera Omnia following that can sort of give you guys ideas for things that you'd like to see from my Patreon. So if you have any ideas from that, so that I can transition over from just having TCG stuff to including you guys for my Opera Omnia following in that, then I'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out my Twitch channel, which has all of my schedule just on the right hand side here, so you can come and watch me playing Opera Omnia, as well as any of the other stuff that I might be playing. FF8's out on Tuesday, so let's not forget about that. Don't forget to check out DissidiaDB.com for all resources, as it's an amazing website as usual. And of course, check out all of the other Opera Omnia content creators out there, because there's loads of us, and all of us appreciate every view that you give us. So we're going to start the video off by talking about Papalymo. Now Papalymo, unfortunately, at this point is quite an uninteresting character. But he isn't terrible, considering that he doesn't have an EX weapon or a rework. He gets just some nice damage-based abilities. He just has 2 HP, Brave HP attacks, realistically. One which has more attack power, one which grants more, max bravery before doing it, so Astral Fire does more damage, and then Umbral Ice gives you, like, more max bravery. So it's very reflective of how a Black Mage works in Final Fantasy XIV, which is really nice. But he's very simplistic in his kit. He gets Brave Attack plus HP Attack plus after using either of his attacks, which is nice because it gives him a decent level of longevity within any combat situation. So you'd be able to use those, as and when you need them. Obviously, with fire, it does more damage and has a Brave HP Attack, whereas with ice, it does ice damage, and then it does your traditional raise bravery, then HP attack for the ice HP attack. So there's a little bit of variety that you can do with Papalymo. That's not bad. But, I mean, if you get his stuff, he's not terrible. Like, his weapons are very simplistic. They give him more buff, like a longer buff duration and higher damage on the 2 skills that he has. But without any access to an EX weapon, his longevity does leave something to be desired. And because he's like a relatively older character now, that hasn't had many reworks since his Crystal 60 passive awakening, he's not going to really do you very well at this point in time. His damage potencies just aren't as high as a lot of other characters. He'll do okay, but he's not going to be anything magnificent. So talking about Terra, Terra actually annoys me a little bit with this banner, because, and I can understand why this is the case, but it still annoys me nevertheless. Terra's EX originally debuted on Alisaie's first event. So now that we have Alisaie's Lost chapter, you would think that Terra's EX would come back for it. But it doesn't, and I think this banner would be a lot more desirable if it had 2 EXs on it, but that being said, Terra's EX is nothing special anyway, to be honest. But while she's not very good now, so she's still very simplistic. She hasn't had anything since her 60 passive awakening. She just does damage. She does a couple of minor debuffs. She's not anything to write home about. But in a couple of weeks' time, we've already seen that she's going to be getting her level 70 awakening, and her EX will come back on that banner. And as you can see, she gets a rework at that point as well, which is going to really increase her longevity. I shan't go into too much detail about her full kit reworked now, because I shall do that when her level 70 awakening comes out. But I don't if you get her stuff, if you're pulling for Alisaie, then great, you could save it for when her level 70 awakening comes out. But I certainly wouldn't go out of your way in this banner to pull for Terra's kit. So now let's talk about Alisaie and her kit. Now, Alisaie is an extremely fun character to use because her kit has a rotation and a lot of very interactive things that happen with her kit that don't happen with most characters. But she's an extremely complicated character to use because of this fact. So we need to go through a lot of different things about her kit, which I'll try and summarize for you at the end of the video with some help from some regular friends on this channel. But also we'll go through what the abilities she has actually are, and then I'll explain what that rotation is. So the best thing about Alisaie is how turn efficient she is. A lot of her stuff either doesn't consume an ability use or doesn't consume the turn count, so she's actually just able to keep going for a really long period of time. And like characters like Lightning and Vayne, they have a lot of abilities that don't make the turn count go up, so she's going to be really useful for getting your score requirements up for various things. As you can see, all of her attacks are elemental, so something that is to her detriment is that if an opponent has any resistance to any of these elements, her kit is significantly weaker than it would be if they didn't have any resistances at all. And obviously if they have weaknesses to it, she's not going to be able to, because you have to rotate the abilities you use with her, she's not going to be able to capitalise fully on that weakness because she has to switch over to different elements pretty much every turn. So what happens with her is she has the Arrow and the Thunder. Those are the two skills that actually show up when you actually bring her into a fight. One of them increases her white mana gauge, because she has two little gauges above her character, one for white mana, one for black mana, and they get progressively increased and then spent on her more powerful skills. So Verero is a Brave HP attack, because all of them are Brave HP attacks, which is great. That gives you white mana and then transforms itself into Verstone, which doesn't increase your turn count, and then it also grants you an ability called Dual Cast, which means that the next ability that you use doesn't consume your... So as you can see, Verstone grants Dual Cast, which means that you're not using a skill use for the next ability you use. So every second ability use after the third is going to not consume your ability gauge, and every second turn doesn't take up her turn because Verstone and Verfire don't actually take up your turn at all. Because as you can see here, the Arrow and like basically the two trees of abilities are very similar. Like they have slightly different potencies, and the way that they work do slightly different things, but they're actually very, very similar in terms of damage anyway. The only difference between them is that one will increase white mana, the other will increase black mana. So that's basically the way that she works. You want to be using one of her skills, then the second one, and then you want to raise her other colour, so you want to try and get it so that you're using as few ability uses while maintaining your turn count to be as low as possible, and you're doing damage the whole time that you're doing this. So basically you're trying to get your head around which abilities to use in what order. So what do you do with the white mana and black mana once you actually have it? Because both of these will increase, like Verero will increase it by 1 or 2, I believe, if you have the weapon and everything, and then the stone will increase it by more. And then the Thunder and the Thunder for Fire will do the same thing for black mana. Once you have these, her regular Brave HP attack changes not into an HP attack plus, but into either Enchanted Riposte if you have one or more white and black mana, or in her Enchanted Redoublement, which is if you have 5 or more of both. And then obviously these are stronger versions of HP attacks. Now Redoublement actually changes the Arrow and the Thunder into even stronger attacks called the Holy and the Flare. Basically, if you guys have ever played Final Fantasy XIV and played a Red Mage, then this stuff will all actually come quite naturally to you, which sounds bizarre because it sounds very complicated as I'm explaining it. But you do get into it and it does make sense after you've done so. And what the Holy and the Flare are even stronger versions of the Stone and the Fire, which means that you've got access to a much higher power attack after you've gone through the full rotation of getting the white and black mana up to at least 4, then using Enchanted Redoublement so that you've got access to the Holy and the Flare, which will then start re-increasing your white or black mana up, which depending on which one you use, and then the rotation starts anew. So basically that's how you want to get through her skills as effectively as possible. And as I say, at the end of the nearer the end of the video, I shall explain a good rotation to go with some visual aids as well. well, I saved some visual aids, some help from Inkwelder and the Tombury Troop, because they've actually managed to condense this into one of their infographics, and it's wonderful. If I make any mistakes during this video, I do apologise, but this character is extremely complicated, and there are so many abilities that I may say the wrong one at the wrong time. But hopefully you guys have gotten an idea of how this character works from me explaining it. In terms of her level 70 kit, because obviously she is going to get an Awakening to level 70, she gets Attack Advance, which is kind of nice, actually. It's nothing hugely major. She gets a little bit of attack for 2 turns, she gets some more Brave Overflow for 2 turns, which is nice. And obviously, like many of the level 70 abilities, no action delay, doesn't increase turn count, which actually plays into her kit quite nicely because, well, most of her kit is revolved around not taking up your turns. And then the Attack Advance Extend raises the overflow limit and raises the potency of the attack up. So it just does more of the same of what it already does, which is all you really want it to do. It's just a nice kind of base, but obviously be careful not to use this while you have dual cast active, because dual cast only lasts for 1 turn. So if you use it there and then, you're going to lose the dual cast, and therefore you'll interrupt the flow of your abilities. So you kind of want to use this kind of at the end of a rotation or before you start a new one, so that you're getting the most out of it. And then with regards to her gear, as I said earlier, if you have her weapon gear, then you'll get more black and white mana from using all of her various skills, and that's going to be really useful, and it obviously just makes all of your stuff a little bit stronger. But then looking at the EX weapon, now Alisaie doesn't have an EX Plus as of yet in JP, so what we see here is what we're going to have for the foreseeable future. But what it is it allows you to kind of interrupt your rotation with an extra attack that increases both of your mana gauges, and it doesn't interrupt your dual cast at all because it extends the dual cast if you've got it by a turn. It also has normal recast rate, which obviously after you've increased its limit breakup, you'll get a pretty quick sort of EX that you can use pretty regularly. So this extends her longevity so much further. It has no action delay, which means that you'll get another turn straight after it. It doesn't increase your turn count either, and it's just an extra free Brave HP attack, which is great for her. It's it's probably the most basic thing she has, to be honest. But if you limit break her EX weapon, then you'll get more Brave damage, higher recast rate and all that, but you also get a framed buff on her called Duelist, which raises her attack and her speed, which is basically what she's wanting more of anyway, because she's very similar to Lightning but without the delay mechanic, and she does have a lot more skill uses over the course of time because so many of them are free, and like I said, every second use of your abilities is practically free. So bearing that in mind, and the fact that her recast rate on her EX weapon is really quick, and it means that your dual cast lasts longer, so you're not losing it by using it, it is pretty necessary for her kit. So as I said at the beginning of the video, or like earlier in the video, I'm bringing forward the infographic by way of Inkwelder and the Tombury Troop. Massive shout out to you guys again, thank you so much. And I'll go over quickly some of the stuff that they say about this, because I think we're all in agreement, but there's some extra things that I'd like to add. The fact that she's locked to 4 different elements can be a real pain in the backside, because obviously if your enemy resists any one of them, then it really hurts her kit altogether, because you need to be going through all of her abilities in order to get the maximum efficiency out of her, because you want to be gaining both black and white mana, and you need to be able to get dual cast as frequently as possible. And because she's so complicated, I wouldn't recommend her to a player who's, you know, been playing for a very long time. I wouldn't recommend her to... She's not in any way a meta-breaking character, I will just say that now. She's very fun to use though. If you take the time to get to learn her, she is very fun to use, and as a red mage main in FF14, I'm definitely more interested in her than most people, and I absolutely love the character. If you have Shantotto EX already, Alisaie looks that much better, because Shantotto imperils most of the things that she does. So if your opponents suddenly gain weaknesses to practically everything you do, then that's a really, really high point for her. That's really nice. And as they says on the infographic, she's very turn efficient. She goes through turns very quickly, so she's less effective in a summon, but she's not as bad as, say, Vayne, who will just take 3 turns up of a summon all at once, because you can kind of make sure you position her correctly in order to make the most out of her during a summon. But because she uses so few turns, because most of those turns don't actually take a turn up on the turn count, she's really good for getting high scores in Cosmos events and things like that. She loves being in auras because she has so many turns. She's going to run out of various buffs very quickly. I mean, Sarah is really good at any point, really, so, you know, any kind of regen of brave regen that she can get. So Lena and Sarah together. Lena, Sarah, Alisaie is a really nice little composition actually, because she'll get loads of buff, but she also gets loads of auras, and she'll be able to maintain a decent brave regen through Brave Phoenix and things like that. So I'm looking, if I do manage to get Alisaie, I'm not saying whether I'm going to pull for her or not yet, then you know, that's the team that I would probably use with her. But there's also a sample skill rotation here that is stated that I would recommend people look at the very least, so that they can get a basic idea of how you want her weapons to go. So you want to start with skill 2, which is the Thunder. I mean, you can do this in either order. It doesn't, like, you can go 2-1-1 EX or 1-2-2 EX, depending on how you want to do it. But basically you want to get the dual cast activated already, so then you end up getting the EX, so you get the duelist stance as quickly as possible. Then you'll go back to your skill rotation, go 2-1, and then HP, which should be Enchanted Redoublement at this point, then EX again, which will increase your mana back up, and then you'll be able to Enchanted Redoublement again. Then you go 2-1, EX, and then you go back to the beginning again, and then you just keep going that way. Obviously there are variations on this that you can do, but obviously this is just a sample one that I'm very thankful to give to you guys by way of Ingwelder and the Tombury Troop that hopefully you guys can experiment with. So do I recommend Alisaie EX as a banner that you should be pulling on? Personally, as much as it kills me to say it because I love her, I don't think this is a particularly good banner for a lot of people to pull on, because there are other banners this month that are going to take precedence. Alisaie is really cool, and she's a really great character, and trust me, I actually really want her because of how fun her kit is and how unique she is amongst all the other characters in the cast. But at no point in the game, unless she gets an EX plus, at which point you could always pull for her then, at no point up until then is she a top tier character. She is there for fun and mostly just that, really. It's very easy for her to get stopped in her tracks by any enemy that resists any of her elements. It's, you know, she's complicated for a lot of new players, which means that she's not as approachable as a lot of characters. So, I mean, I think that they've captured the flavour of Red Mage pretty much perfectly in a condensed skill set, which I'm actually very impressed by with the developers. I think that's a really cool shout. But I just think that your resources are going to be better spent on, say, Noctis if you don't already have him, because he's top tier for about a month or 6 weeks or so. You've got Pain, who's also pretty good. You know, there's other things that you could be pulling on instead of Alisaie. So if you really love her like I do, she's not bad. She's pretty good. She's not gonna break the game or anything. If you have Shantotto EX already, then that's gonna make her look a little bit better because you're gonna get the Imperil on everything. You could use any Imperil to Imperil one of the elements that she uses, but that's obviously not gonna be quite as relevant. But I personally think that, I mean, I'm totally stuck because I'm torn between whether I pull for her because she's a favourite of mine or whether I don't pull for her because I want to continue to hoard resources. I mean, sound off in the comments below. Let me know what you think. To let you guys know, I currently have 150,000 gems and 350 tickets. So I'm back in a good place when it comes to resources after the horror that was June. I'm back in a good place thanks to August being quite nice to me. So would you pull for a favourite just because, even though you know you wouldn't use her all that much, would you pull for her knowing that she's going to get power crept, but would you pull for her because she's one of your favourites? And yeah, I'm in that full-on dichotomy. So stand off in the comments below and let me know whether you think I should pull on this one, because while I'm not recommending it to everybody else, I really don't know whether I want to pull for a favourite or not. So let me know in the comments below what you think of that. So that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you think of Alisaie's kit, and obviously, as I've said, you can let me know what you think, whether you think I should pull or not, but also let me know whether you're going to pull or not based on whether she's a favourite of yours, or whether you actually think that she's going to serve you really well in the content for months to come, or anything like that. And then let me know what your plans are for pulls in the future, of course, and let me know what sort of characters you want to put with what, and all sorts of things like that. As I've always said, don't forget to check out the links in the description box below for all my social media, and of course don't forget to subscribe and click on that little bell for notifications so that you know when my next videos are coming up. So that's going to be it from me. Thanks again everybody, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye!